Good evening and welcome to Mining the Riches of the Parsha. Tonight is Thursday night, September 26, 2024. A week from tonight, of course, we will not be meeting because that's Rosh Hashanah. So our next meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight, October 10th. And then, remember, we resume at 7 p.m. So after tonight, we go back to 7 p.m. Of course, we're going to miss a couple of dates because of the holidays. All of the dates are on our website and in our emails. Please check them to make sure that you have the correct schedule. I do want to mention something significant. 2 weeks from tonight, October 10th, it's the night before Yom Kippur. We'll be meeting at 7 p.m. on Thursday night, and I will have a special guest here. Kari Sirota will be with us. She and I will be having a discussion together. Kari Sirota is an incredible woman. She is a bereavement counselor, and we'll be talking about Yizkar. Of course, Yizkar is on Yom Kippur. We'll be talking about Yizkar and Jewish ways to approach grief and mourning and how that connects with what secular science knows. So that's going to be a discussion with Kari Sirota and myself 2 weeks from tonight, October 10th, at 7 p.m., the regular login, this same spot. So we look forward to that. Last October 8th, one of the many questions I thought about: how will we celebrate Simchas Torah this year? Since then, events have caused that question to become broader and more complex. How will we face the high holidays this year in light of October 7th and every day since? And of course, the situation in Israel changes hour by hour, and our approach may change with it. But tonight I will share two approaches. They contradict each other, but I propose to integrate them. So what I want to share with you tonight is how I am thinking about this and what we are planning at ADATH. First of all, the date of October 7th, the secular date anniversary, does have significance. It is the date that many people in the world associate with this terrible event, even if it is not the actual yahrzeit on the Hebrew calendar. And I feel that it's the right thing to participate in the Federation program that night. The Jewish Federation is planning a program to commemorate October 7th on that night. And I think that it's important that our wider community commemorate what did happen and what is happening, and especially as this date falls on the Monday between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, I think it's important to unite our community in such a gathering. And so we are not scheduling any event at ADATH on October 7th in order to participate in the community-wide event, which I feel is important. Concerning Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkos, Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah. First, I want to share with you the approach of Rabbi Avraham Stav. And this approach resonates deeply for me. Rabbi Stav writes that, in his opinion, the way we should approach these holidays, he says, I would not change a thing. Not one word should be added or subtracted. And the reason for that, he says, is that nothing can be the same anymore. He writes, I look into the words of the prayer book like a child learning to pray for the first time. the prayers and phrases that are so well known. They require new thinking. Zachreinu l'chaim. Remember us for life. To say that this year will be very, very different from any other time that we've said it before in our lives. Zachreinu l'chaim. Chamol al ma'asecha. We say to God in the Amidah, Chamol al ma'asecha, have mercy on your creation, God. And we're saying it this year as if we're saying it for the first time from a place of pain and loss and grief. Chamol al ma'asecha. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, Aseh leman harugim al shem kodshecha. Act for the sake of those who were slaughtered for your holy name. We will say that line together as we have never said it before, because that's exactly what we saw on October 7th and since. Those who were slaughtered simply because they're Jews. This paragraph of Tehillim, of Psalms, that we say every day now, in the morning and the evening. L'David Hashem ori v'yishi mimi'i efchad. For David, a song. God is my light and my salvation. Who should I fear? But how do we say those words this year? Who should we fear? Those that we fear are all around us. Eli Wiesel wrote that the most daring and subversive text he heard during the Holocaust in the extermination camps was the Kaddish. Yiskadal v'yiskadash, magnified and sanctified may God's great name be. More than all the claims and complaints and question marks, there echoed the gap between these familiar words on the lips and the vacuum in the broken heart. The poet Rabbi Elchanan Nir wrote shortly after last Simchas Torah, now like air to breathe, we need a new Torah. With the same words, but different meaning, deeper meaning. Consider this phrase, originally from the Talmud. Many of us use it. Tichle shana v'kilotseha. Bring an end, God, to this year, 5784, and its curses. To say that now, at the end of 5784, is completely different from what we meant when we said it in 5783 last year. Rabbi Joel Wolfson writes that in certain ways I think this is what our tradition is built for. Our tradition, the words of our prayers on the high holidays, if you take it seriously, is overwhelming in its intensity and its focus on the deepest questions of mortality, of the fragility of our existence, the questions of who will live and who will die, are not metaphorical abstractions, but are actually very, very real. And they will be real for us this year in a way that for most of us, we have never experienced. We have this terrifying invitation to be open with ourselves and with God about that. Who will live and who will die? So, says Rabbi Stav, Rabbi Wolfson, no new prayers, no changes in practice, but deeper. Because everything has changed. And so everything is much, much deeper. Every word, every melody, every ritual, every commandment, every custom, unchanged, will be totally different and must be experienced and expressed as if it is the first time, because it will be for us the first time since last Simchas Torah. I want to share now a second approach. It's different from the first. This is the approach of Rabbi Yosef Rimon. And while my thinking now is that my internal guide, what I will be feeling, will be based on the first approach I shared from Rabbi Stav, but our external guide, what we will be doing, we plan to base on the approach of Rabbi Rimon. And of course, there's overlap. But let me share with you his approach. He was asked the following question. Rabbi Rimon, I am distraught, trying to understand how we are meant to celebrate the upcoming holidays. Should we celebrate normally? Should we tone down some of the celebrations? Is that proper? And here's Rabbi Rimon's answer. He begins, of course, this year has been terribly difficult. At one time, 1,200 people were mercilessly killed. Hundreds of soldiers lost their lives. Hostages were taken and are still being held. Thousands of soldiers and civilians are seriously injured. Still, tens of thousands of people are dislocated, displaced from their homes due to the danger in both the south and the north. And so the situation that we face today evokes tears and pain and worry. Now, on the surface, it might appear that we should limit our celebration. We should dampen our celebration. The Talmud discusses this. After the Churban, after the destruction of the Second Temple, the catastrophic destruction that changed everything, there were those who suggested that we should be in a state of permanent mourning. We should never again enjoy meat or drink wine. We're mourning forever. Rabbi Yehoshua, the great sage, Rabbi Yehoshua responded with the approach that became normative and said that's not the way. We don't go into permanent mourning. Yes, we have to have practices that are zecher l'churban, that remind us of the tragedy. And even at the moments of our greatest joy, for example, at a wedding under the chuppah, we break a glass, we're remembering the destruction of Jerusalem. We include this in our prayers, Ubirushalayim ircha barachamim tashuv. We pray to God to return His presence to Jerusalem. We have a day of mourning of Tisha B'Av. So we have reminders. We acknowledge the terrible tragedy, and we acknowledge it first, and then we celebrate on the Yom Tov. Celebrate the happy occasion. We discussed this several times this year. We acknowledge the pain, and then we celebrate. Now, that's what the Talmud says about the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Our reality, says Rabbi Rimon, is entirely different. Because the Talmud is discussing a situation, an era of destruction and exile. And even in that reality, the conclusion of the Talmud is not to accept permanent mourning or dampening any celebration of a holiday. But that is not our reality, says Rabbi Rimon. Thank God, he writes, we are not living in a reality of destruction, but rather a reality of building. We are privileged to live in the generation of redemption. This generation has returned to its homeland after thousands of years. We are privileged to have a wonderful state of Israel and an amazing army, the Israel Defense Force, Tzahal. And we have been fortunate to see miracles that our ancestors never had the opportunity to behold. Despite all our difficulties, writes Rabbi Rimon, we are living in one of the most preeminent periods in the history of Am Yisrael, the Jewish people. Rabbi Rimon told this story. There was a group of soldiers. They were fighting in Gaza. And suddenly they identified terrorists. So one of the soldiers immediately began running ahead of the rest to lead the attack against these terrorists. And another soldier, who was not married, began running after him. And he pulled this lead soldier. And he said, you cannot lead the assault. You have a wife and 4 children. I'm not married. I will lead the assault. And this single soldier did that. They shot and neutralized the terrorists, but one of the terrorists returned fire, and this single soldier was killed. Rabbi Rimon says, see how great our soldiers are. Their strength, their bravery, their sense of purpose on behalf of the entire Jewish people, willing to risk their own lives in order that a fellow soldier's life should not be at risk. We are witnessing miracles. We are witnessing heroism on a level that it's hard to imagine. So we have to hear these stories to know it firsthand. And then Rabbi Rimon makes a critical point. He says we have to remember this war is not just taking place on the battlefield, it is also on the home front. Our wicked enemies want to remove any simcha from us, any joy from us, disrupt our normalcy, and cause internal strife. Rabbi Rimon recalls speaking to a soldier who had just come out of Gaza. And Rabbi Rimon said to him, isn't it hard for you to leave Gaza and to see you come back home and everything seems normal? People are going to restaurants and people are walking in the street and it seems normal. Doesn't that bother you? And the soldier said, if I would see that everything was different, it would make it a lot harder. When I see things are normal, I know we are doing our jobs properly. Our enemies want to prevent our simcha, our normalcy, and we will not let that happen. If we diminish the celebration of our Yomim Tovim, our holidays, then we are allowing our enemies to win. So, Rabbi Rimon says, we have to hold on to this balance. We have to remember the challenges and feel the pain at every moment. The pain of every hostage and their families, the wounded, the bereaved families, those who are evacuated. And while we are remembering all of that, we must celebrate the Yom Tov with vigor, through an understanding that this is part of our victory. The more we rejoice and are strong and united, the weaker our enemy becomes. So Rabbi Rimon makes the following practical suggestions. On the first night of Rosh Hashanah, in our homes, we have the practice to eat certain symbolic foods. We call them simonim. The most popular and famous is apples and honey. We take an apple, dip it in honey. We make a bracha, the blessing. We take a bite of the sweet apple. And then we say a prayer to God with the sweetness of the apple and honey in our mouths. We say this prayer, Yehi Ratzon, may it be your will, Hashem, that the coming year will be sweet for us. Says Rabbi Rimon, let's build on that. May it be your will, God, that this year we see the hostages return. May it be your will, God, that this year we will not suffer the loss of any more soldiers. May it be your will, God, that this year everyone will live in safety and security throughout the entire land of Israel, etc., etc. Add that to the ceremony. Add that to the apples and honey. And there are people that have other foods, symbolic foods. Whichever one you use is fine, and it doesn't matter if you get the words right. But add that to your practice on the first night of Rosh Hashanah. Remember that in Israel, October 7th was Shmini Atzeres, the 8th day of Sukkos, and also Simchas Torah. Remember, there's only one day of Yom Tov. So what we refer to as Shmini Atzeres, the 8th day of Sukkos, and Simchas Torah, it all happens on one day. For us, it's 2 days. The truth is, both days are really the holiday of Shmini Atzeres. It's the 8th and the 9th day. Outside of Israel, it's 2 days. But we refer to the 8th day as Shmini Atzeres and the 9th day as Simchas Torah. That's when we celebrate the Torah. The yahrzeit, the anniversary of the terrible attack on October 7th, is Shmini Atzeres, the 8th day of Sukkos. On that day in synagogues all over the world, we say Yizkar. And in addition to the Yizkar that people say for those family members who have passed away, we will have a section of Yizkar where everyone will be present, because we are all mourning the loss of life on October 7th. And we will have a special prayer specifically for those who died on that terrible day. Simchas Torah. At night, this year Thursday night, and then Friday during the day, we celebrate with hakafos. It's the day to celebrate the Torah. We take the Torahs out of the ark, and we hold them, and we walk around 7 times, and we dance and we sing with the joy of the Torah. And again, Rabbi Rimon is saying, do not diminish from the joy of that day, from the celebration of that day, but at the same time, hold in mind the pain. And so, for each of the hakafos, for each of the times we walk around and we normally sing different songs, there'll be a mixture of songs. There will be songs that are joyous. V'samachta b'chagecha, rejoice on your holidays. There will be songs that this year take on new meaning. Hoshia es amecha. We sing this every year, but this year it means something much, much deeper. As I said before, Hoshia es amecha, save your people. And we will also sing Achenu kol beis Yisrael. Our brothers and sisters who are in captivity, God have compassion on them and bring them to freedom. And we'll sing the Mishaberach for the Israel Defense Force, and we will sing the prayer for the state of Israel. So we will be singing both the joyous, exuberant songs and also the songs that are emotional. And in this way, we will hold on to both of these truths. The pain, acknowledging the pain, expressing the pain, but not diminishing the simcha, not diminishing the joy. One final story from Rabbi Rimon. Some time ago, there were a group of soldiers in Gaza, celebrated a Torah dedication. Imagine this. A new Torah was dedicated to be used by soldiers in Gaza. Soldiers are davening, praying every day with a minyan. They needed a new Torah. So they celebrated the dedication of a new Torah. And everyone was joyous. The soldiers were dancing and singing. It was like Simchas Torah, celebrating a Torah, celebrating a new Torah. Like on Simchas Torah, we celebrate completing the study of Torah in the past year and beginning the study of Torah for the next year. And these soldiers, it was a few weeks ago, but they're celebrating this dedication of a new Torah, and they're celebrating like it's Simchas Torah, singing the songs that we sing on Simchas Torah, and dancing and joyous. And there was a soldier who was there, a religious young man. And he got up to speak in front of the group, and he said that I am so emotional, I feel I have come full circle. He said, during Simchas Torah last year, I had to leave in the middle of the celebration to go out to war. And now, celebrating the dedication of this new Torah, I feel the closure of coming full circle as I get to continue to dance with the beloved Torah scroll. It's an amazing sentiment. But surprisingly, as soon as he finished speaking, another soldier stood up to speak. And this was a non-religious soldier, a secular Israeli soldier. And the first thing he said was quite surprising. He said, "We did not come full circle." People didn't quite understand what point he was about to make. But he continued as follows. He said to the group of soldiers, "I am not an observant Jew. I don't go to the synagogue. Last Simchas Torah, I was not in the synagogue. Last Simchas Torah, all of you, religious soldiers, you danced with the Torah and you left in the middle to go to war. I didn't dance. But now, we are all dancing together. We have not come full circle, but rather we are beginning a new circle. Says Rabbi Rimon, this is how we should be feeling. It is hard. We are sad and we cry over the brokenness, but we are strengthened in knowing that we are the generation of redemption, that we have an amazing army, and that we have seen miracles that our ancestors could never even have imagined. And this should give us the strength to cope with the great pain. My friends, I'm sharing with you tonight my own personal feelings and our plans at ADATH. There are many different opinions. There are many different ways to approach this. As I said at the beginning, it could very well be that circumstances will arise that will cause me to change my thinking or to change our plans, hopefully for the better. But however we think about this, we approach these high holidays with trepidation, but we need to have a feeling of strength and a feeling of hope. And these words that we say this year as we have never said them before, Tichle Shana Ukloloseha, may this year end and with it all of its curses. And may the new year begin 5785 and be filled with blessings. My friends, I wish you all a good night and a beautiful Shabbos. This is the last time that we'll be studying together in this forum, in this Jewish year, 5784. I want to express my gratitude to you for giving me the opportunity over the past year to be able to study with you, to be able to share insights with you, to hear your insights. I'm deeply grateful, and I look forward to a new year filled with blessings, including the blessing that we should be able to study Torah together for many, many years to come. Shana Tova.